where that one came from, and all you have to do is be on time for all the sessions that you will be attending. I'd now like to say that we are very happy to share that the INDUS community has got the continued support of our gold partners. These would be Conclave, WeCentric, and Hewlett-Packard Enterprises, who is here, of course, with its own partner, Reddington. They're all present in the larger-than-life SAP showcase, so please come visit us during the breaks. It's now my privilege to invite our next speaker, Mr. Harish Lade, GM Systems Asian Paints, to share his insights with this august audience. Let me tell you that Mr. Harish Lade is the General Manager, Systems and Information Technology at Asian Paints Limited, India's largest and globally top 5 decorative coatings company. In his 19-year stint at Asian Paints, he has led a variety of IT-led transformational initiatives at Asian Paints in diverse areas like next-generation customer engagement systems, advanced supply chain planning systems, manufacturing execution systems and IoT, social and collaboration platforms. So with that, let's welcome to the stage Mr. Harish Lade. Let's have a round of applause, please. Welcome, sir. We look forward to you sharing your insights.
Yeah, good afternoon, all of you. It's indeed a privilege to share the Asian Paints story out here with the customers of SAP. I think there are a few elements of which Mr. Nagpal already kind of set the stage, and probably I'll kind of cover, and he's really put in a good list of agenda item for a CIO, and at least I hope that we are already on a journey to fulfill some of those expectations. Before we kind of get into the digital transformation and when this talk had to be done, right? So really the biggest question which probably all of you would be wondering is that when you hear about digital, you typically remember the new age companies, typically all the e-commerce companies or the wonderful startups which are there, which are really engaging consumers very, very differently, whether it be the disruptive taxi providers or any of the the food startups. So how is it that a very traditional brick and mortar company like Asian Paints is on a journey for digital transformation? And particularly because if you see, the consumer experience, I mean, digital transformation is all about consumer experiences. And if you look at paint, right, the first 4 letters of the word is pain. And really painting and consumer experience are kind of, poles apart in terms of, and I really urge you to kind of think, when did you really paint your house last? And was it a really wonderful experience, or what did you really go through, right? So keep that as a back of your mind. And I think when Asian Paints really looked at digital, and digital is probably new, the whole anchor of Asian Paints was around how do you really engage consumers very differently and help ultimately paint, you do paint to do what? Kind of create a beautiful home, right? So really the whole focus was for us to shift from just thinking about a product, a can of paint, to really the entire experience which goes with it. And that set the stage probably in the last decade, where the company has been taking different steps to really transform from just being a paint and coatings company to really becoming a player in the home decor segment. And I'll talk about that because the digital transformation of any organization really is very closely linked to the business strategy, the choices, the business models which the company kind of sets out to kind of achieve. All of you probably already know about Asian Paints as a brand. We are India's 7th most recognized brand, but a few facts which just for completing the picture. While we are number 1 in India in terms of the paint product portfolio, we have operations outside of India, largely in emerging markets. This would be really Middle East, South Asia, Egypt, and recently into the African continent as well. We have 7,000 employees worldwide, 23 paint manufacturing facilities, fairly large market cap, and we are one of the Fab 50 best places to work for kind of an organization. So with this quick backdrop, I think the whole shift for us in the digital journey started sometime in 2013. When having been market leaders and having already doing paint as a service, the real thought was that what do we do next? And that's where this kind of a direction was laid out, where while we continue to grow in the core paint segment, we formally said that we want to really, establish home improvement as a line of business. And the whole genesis of that was, hey, you're already going into people's homes, doing walls. Walls is only one element of, how you decorate your home. There are other spaces in the home, and all of that, probably are very ripe in the Indian context for probably, bringing the entire ecosystem together, right? So really that's the vision, and, certain steps are already on way, and how IT kind of, partnered along the way is what probably I will talk about in the next probably 25 minutes. So, moment this vision was unfolded, there were a few strategic imperatives out there. The biggest thing, which is on the top right corner, is how do we really innovate? Because ultimately, the consumers in the decor space are really looking for that, different, it has, naya kya hai when you go out and do your home, right? So, really innovating very rapidly on the product portfolio. The bottom right, where really home is a very personal space, and you really need to engage the consumer, keep him and her at the center of your entire business process and your service delivery, and that becomes, the core proposition in which how you can really go ahead and create and disrupt this space. And, the left two are probably more rational, where, yeah, Asian Paints has been into paint for probably over 6 decades. So how do we, how do we really go into other segments? How do you get into, let's say, kitchens or bath spaces? So growth through acquisition became a very key imperative. And finally, in this entire home decor space, really the ecosystem is important, right? You have to do kind of an Uberization of getting a contractor, architects, interior designers, all of them together to kind of, and have them collaborate to create the entire home decor experience out there. So these were the 4 imperatives. At the same time, keeping the core still intact, focus on operational efficiencies, governance, risk and compliance, definitely you can't do away with that, and continue to build loyalty through world-class customer experiences, right? So this were the imperatives, and those really led to, few very concrete steps. I'll quickly run through that. First time probably in 6 decades, the company went and, acquired a product which is outside paint, and growth through acquisitions became probably a way. We acquired Sleek Kitchens, which is one of the modular companies, acquired SS, which is a bath fitting company, and started to integrate that in the core paint business. While the growth in the core paint business continued, really the paint as a business in India grows as twice the GDP, so there was double-digit growth. Obviously, it's a bit slowing down now, but really the growth, continued to happen. Product proliferation happened because you are really talking about creating very innovative products, right? So creating wall fashion, creating entire kids range of products. So really a very personalized product portfolio when we look at some of the home solutions offering there. And continue to really expand, because in India, you really need to work with the dealer ecosystem. So how do you really keep the dealer also engaged along your customer experience journey? So as the strategy unfolded, the company kind of started taking steps to transform as a home decor company from just a pure paints and coatings company. Newer services got launched, services like color consultancy at home, and all of them, moment you start thinking about that, then suddenly IT starts being viewed very differently, because if you have to replicate a service offering across, let's say, 100 cities in the country, you really need to put technology to enable some of those experiences. So what I'll do is, there were multiple IT initiatives, but I thought that for the for this talk, I'll pick up on 3 key areas. One is, how do we really go about building a omni-channel customer experience? So how do we really go ahead and get one view of the customer as the customer goes through the entire journey of decorating her home? Second one, and thanks to Mr. Nagpal for setting the stage, it's all about how do we enable the finance function to transform decision making, and I'll go along that, and how some of the SAP products have been leveraged to kind of achieve this. And lastly, on operational excellence, how do we really go ahead and leverage Internet of Things and real-time abnormality detection to improve operational efficiencies in some of our factories. So it's like a fairly diverse kind of a range of topics, and this is probably all experiential. So This is what we have kind of gone through in the last, I would say, 3.5 years, and it's been a very interesting journey. I think we partnered with SAP, few other partners also filled in some of the gaps in our IT architecture, and at least we're on a journey to kind of, create probably a solid foundation which will help us, in taking the transformation forward. So let's look at the omni-channel customer experiences. As I said, customer centricity was the center agenda, and it was kind of articulated as a strong organizational pillar. So there are a lot of behavioral changes across the organization in how we connect with dealers, consumers. That agenda was kind of being driven, and this was the mantra. The idea is to deliver delightful and engaging experiences across all interaction points. And when I say all interaction points, typically in the decor world, when somebody wants to go ahead and, beautify the home, the first thing is the zero moment of truth, where you'll go ahead and search on Google, probably go through sites like house.com or any of those home inspiration sites, and that becomes the reference point. And from there is always an element of having a physical touch, because decor is something which you have to go and experience. I mean, you will not buy a furnishing without touching it, feeling it, all of that. So there has to be a physical manifestation of that experience. And towards that, the kind of company, and I'll talk about that in future slides, where there are experience centers created. There are two large, signature stores. One in Mumbai. There is one in New Delhi, in Connaught Place, where you just go and experience color, experience decor, right? And those are the touch points, right? So the experience should be delightful across all touch points, whether it's digital or then it comes into physical, and thereby creating a positive bias towards products and services, right? So across the entire cycle, right? Awareness, inspiration, when you explore and decide the product, when you actually make the purchase, or you deploy and experience. So there are different elements, right? You might decide to paint your home through a contractor. Now, if the contractor doesn't give you a good experience, and is not even an Asian Paints contractor, you still need to take the onus of, training them. And suddenly that means, I have to go ahead and now start tracking what contractors are being, trained in which kind of products, right? So that leads to a very different kind of an IT initiative and a very different view on, who all are there in your ecosystem. So very importantly, what we did was we said, okay, keep technology on the side. Let's go and analyze what the customer is doing. And this is a very standard way. I mean, if you look at all the digital marketing or any of the marketing literature out there, they talk about customer journeys. So these are the sample customer journeys which we kind of identified, and we kind of grouped them into, multiple segments of customers. So there are two interesting segments here which I thought all of you would relate to. There is a word called Rangila out there, which is the second on the left, and there is a word called Bermuda. Now, who is this Rangila segment, right? So the Rangila segment essentially is really the, I would say, the first generation or a kind of an entrepreneur emerging from, let's say, the tier 2, tier 3 city. Could be a typical small businessman who has, through his own, will, gut, has gone ahead and, made an impact out there. Maybe started a transport company and one truck, and suddenly now he has got a fleet of 10 trucks, and he has money, right? Now he is profiting from the growth of the India story, and he is profiting, right? So really wants to go and show that, I have arrived in life. And one of the ways they express that is, let's say, how they decorate their homes. So typically, if you drive down on the highways, you typically see those very flashy, brightly colored bungalows or kotis, right? That is the Rangila segment. Now, how does that consumer really go ahead and, experience the whole home journey? They are really not going to go probably Google it out and start the journey. They'll really go more with their social networks, peers, right? So that's the inspiration part for them, right? So the journey begins with the trigger. Okay, I want to actually have a home, new home, show that I've arrived in life, and then it goes down into social networks. They probably will take help of a local contractor, applicator. So the journey proceeds in that manner. Contrast that with Bermuda. Typically, Bermuda segment is, let's say, the IT professional in Bangalore or, working in some of these IT firms. Really, they want, and they have a lot of strong roots in the sense they still are embedded into the Indian value system, but they want to also kind of, they have obviously got now, a good well-paying job, and they want to now use this to kind of create their first home. Husband and wife are working, they want to jointly co-create their home, right? So they would most often would go through a digital medium. They would really want assurance. Somebody shouldn't really, cheat them. They want lots of information. So that becomes the other customer journey, right? So really these customer journeys gave us the kind of, guidance as to, how do we go about executing this forward. And when we analyze this, we found that in an IT system or in the call center systems or in the website, there was break in the journey. Somebody would go on the website, do some registration, but necessarily when that person goes to, let's say, the physical store, the information didn't flow there seamlessly, right? So these gaps started coming up, and those led to kind of a, really a source of, one is dissatisfaction and also potential loss of customer centricity. And then we said, okay, we need to put up a program, and really how do we go about doing this exceptional customer journey? Kind of broke it down into waves. First was to consolidate all the customer processes. We used the SAP CRM as the foundational backend to kind of enable, all the business processes there. Then we went into wave 2, where after having cleaned up the backend, having a unified customer complaint process, unified, customer registration process, we went into level 2, which is enabling integrated customer experiences. So there you would really talk about analyzing pools of customers, and probably more of it I'll talk about it. And finally, we're getting into differentiated customer experiences. I think it was there in the SAP video where you're talking about how, harmonized and personal experiences. Again, home is a very personal space, so how do we get there? Right? That's the vision. I don't think we are fully there yet. We are just starting the personal experience, differentiated experience journey in the last probably 3 to 4 months. So at the top, if you see, there are all the influencers. There is the dealer, contractor, architect, and the end consumer. And they would touch in the middle layer, which is either the call center or the website. The right one is the our T0, T1 store, which I mentioned. So a customer can go through all these experiences. They can begin a journey at any point, but all the information kind of starts getting pulled into the SAP CRM, which now runs on HANA for us. So humongous amount of activity data, either you're interacting on the kiosk, trying to do a color choice, all of that data kind of gets embedded into the backend in-memory engine. And at the bottom is all the transactional processes, any escalations, any approvals, customer profiling, any campaigns we are running in specific cities, any loyalty programs for our ecosystem, all of that is there in the backend CRM system. So this kind of is part of our wave 1, which kind of is running for the last 2 years. And these are some of the touch points in physical, human, and digital, which kind of enable that journey. The physical is color experience stores. In tier 2 cities, we have got easy color stores where we would have around 300 of our dealers who have created experience zones out there. When you go really to the third column, it's about color ideas, color world, which are probably kiosk-based system, not really in big cities. A dealer can't make that investment, so he has a digital kiosk where they will interact. And finally, there would be certain smart tools, painting, and maintenance system, which are the add-on services which kind of get rendered in the physical avatar. The human, which is a layer 2, is all where you would touch base either on a voice call or a color consultant would go and offer consultancy. And each of that has a back-end story in terms of either a mobile app or a loyalty or a offer management, and all of that data kind of gets centralized into a common engine out there. The digital experience is more on website or on mobile apps, and that is what probably most companies end up doing, when they created a targeted website or anything of that sort. You kind of create certain ways in which through social media you will engage consumers. You create a design of your home and share it among social media, get opinions. So some of those areas are there in the digital space. So some of the specific, next generation stuff which we kind of had to invest in was to invest in a advanced customer discovery tool. This is really going beyond just BI and segmenting and going ahead and creating a self-service tool for the marketing team to analyze customers. And the second is real-time offer management. And both of them gets combined on our web and mobile channels. So you see some of the screenshots here where you really don't have to come to IT to go ahead and create some of those segments. using a very interactive, Fiori kind of an app, the marketing team is able to create dynamic segments and run campaigns on top of it. So these are some of the advanced discovery leading to specific campaigns kind of a scheme, and then a real-time offer management, which is kind of which understands intelligently as to which cities and which profile is kind of aligning to which kind of offer. So there's an intelligent engine which there could be 10 offers running in a city, but which offer is running for which kind of segment. Some of those very high-end offer management engines are what kind of are running right now. Early days, but definitely a huge shift in the way we're able to connect with the consumers. Quickly, I'll go to the second one, which is transformation of financial system. So really, this is all what Mr. Nagpal talked about. The reason for us, he talked about how the CFO should be empowered to make decisions using data, right? So for us, why was this the need itself, right? The need itself was coming from the original strategy, where you were diversifying beyond one product portfolio to a multiple product portfolio, multiple product lines, different distribution channels, selling through retail, selling to projects. Almost the requirement was to analyze the financials from more than 50 dimensions. So some of the dimensions are over there, right? Product brand is obvious one, channel view, geography view, customer group view, and each of them we wanted to analyze how that segment is performing. Why suddenly somebody has to analyze that? Because you have to really do pricing decision. You're really giving services in different cities, and each city has its own DNA. There are models which are different. For example, in Mumbai, the painting market is a contractor-led model, where the contractor would actually source Asian Paints paint from his affiliated dealer. But if you come to any other market, let's say Calcutta or even Mumbai, Delhi, it's actually a dealer and contractor separately, they would pitch in and kind of go in. So how does the profitability get checked in this different model? How do I really set the labor rates are different. So I can't really offer a per square feet which is common across the country, because so how do you really get into that deep level of analysis? So making pricing decision, is the promotion effective? What kind of market strategy is being formulated? So it's really a joint exercise which both finance, marketing, and sales and services team really need to do to understand the whole data patterns out there. So, and do what ifs. What if I actually change the product price of a smart care range? What would be the impact on profitability? Some of those things started kind of making putting real stress on the IT systems to kind of come back with these answers. And traditionally the architecture is you have a ERP, and then you've got a data warehouse, and you do transformation, and that's really where some of these things really break. The whole idea was to have everything folded back into the transaction system. So what really choices did we have? We were anyway on a HANA journey. We did BW on HANA as a sidecar way back in 2012. And I really not gone, each of them had a business case, but I think the message here is to kind of say that while we were on this journey to adopt the in-memory technology, I think the real differentiator for us to go on to the S4 HANA came primarily because we really didn't want to separate the management reporting from, let's say, the transactional reporting, because some of these real-time offers, some of those promotions are all running real-time, right? So really need to push the data reporting as close as the transaction as possible. And yeah, we had the classical architecture. Somebody might say, okay, I can actually rerun the entire COPA, and all of you are SAP customers here, you know that there is a COPA module in SAP which allows you to do management reporting by taking the transactional data, applying all the management rules and breaking down those common costs and allocating them to products and customers and services. But really the classical architecture wouldn't have scaled for us, and I'll talk about that when I go into the details of it. Really moving to the new architecture of simplified finance was the way for us, because here it's actually combining management reporting and accounting into a common backend. 18 key tables are reduced to 2, and as and when the financial document is posted, all the associated management dimension also get posted. So at a click of a button, at least for the rules which are fired when the transaction is run, you can actually get your real-time dimension level profit analysis. So there's that universal journal which kind of gets leveraged. Probably it's too technical to get into that. So we did this migration to SWIN and S4 HANA at Asian Paints, did multiple trial runs, leverage what we call near zero downtime, where while the upgrade was going on, the business was still running, and we only had to shut down the business for 12 hours on a weekend to kind of complete the entire migration. We are live since 26 July, and I'll talk about what all has got enabled, right? So we have enabled profitability analysis with S4 at a business unit level, regional channel level, fully real-time reconciled contribution analysis across 50 dimensions. Cost allocation is done as the transaction gets posted, and some of those dashboards I'll kind of drill down into. This is the brief preview of the architecture. I probably will skip this slide because it's a standard SAP architecture, which I'm sure you can go into that and understand that. I think this is most important, right? So what are the capabilities which are built, right? So some of this you could really relate to, right? Allocating your excise reposting at a product level, daily bill clearance of 45,000 dealers and the associated promotions, allocating that to all the invoice line item level products over there. There are almost 1500 allocation cycle, and the entire ad spend gets allocated across these brands. So we do our ad spend tracking in the WBS structure of SAP, and we have a large project sales business, which is I would say very customized business because each site is unique, and we want to find out site level profitability. So the site level profitability for 32,000 sites. So let's say if a housing complex in Gurgaon, what paint, what undercoat, entire breakdown at that level kind of happens with the S4 HANA over there. Allocations generate around 4 million records per month. So the essence is that some of this in the classical COPA would not have just worked. It's only that with the help of in-memory technology and the simplified architecture, some of these reports are kind of becoming possible for us. So those are some of the gross sales up to the net margin level, which we are kind of able to do it across those 50 dimensions now. And for visualization, we are using the Smart Business Executive Edition, which really is a combination. I mean, it's not yet another reporting tool from SAP, but it's a combination of ability to do exploring and dashboarding in a common kind of a front end, right? So this is the predecessor to what SAP calls a boardroom of the future app. There are 9 HANA views, which kind of allows the CFO to go from top level view right up to, I like the statement, become the victim of reporting, right? I think the whole idea is to eliminate somebody becoming a victim of the reporting, because the system allows you to begin at the profit level dashboard and drill it right down into the transaction. So within that room, if somebody asks a question, the presenter can't go and say, "मैं पूछ के बताता हूँ." Because normally that's what happens, right? The CFO, CEO will ask 5 questions and they'll say, "पूछ के बताता हूँ." But frankly, you can just go down, drill down and say, this is exactly what is happening over there, or the collection over here is, not happening, and that's why this is getting impacted, or inventory levels are here high, so the interest cost is going up. The exact drill down would happen at that level. There are some more visuals, and all of this actually can be created by a non-IT person using the SB front end, right? So gross margin analysis and all of that is part of this report out there. These are live reports. That's why if you see, I've just erased some of the figures over there. So this is live from our systems. So right from macro analysis to interactively do the data discovery and do a real deep dive right up to the document level. Some of those things are now possible with this engine. So benefits, real-time analysis, track key metrics to original document, simplified and real-time reconciliation. No longer you have to wait for the month end to happen, then your management reporting will run, and maybe at the end of one more month you will get your COPA reports. That's how it is. And it's really fast. I mean, all the reports, we set a target that if this is to be meaningful, all of this has to be possible in less than 30 seconds. It was really a challenge for SAP because if there were like 40 million rows getting processed. We had to really work very closely with the SAP team. The journey has probably not been very easy. hopefully some of the lessons learned in our journey would get factored into the SAP's product roadmaps, and maybe some optimization would happen. But really we have been on this journey for now, I would say 6 months, and we've gone over most of the hurdles out there. Future roadmap is to go really into boardroom of the future. Just eliminate all the redundant data structures. Today there are redundant data structures. When the planned data resides in SAP BPC, the actuals is there in S4HANA, how the two collapse. The consolidation happens in a consolidation instance. How does that get merged onto the core S4 instance? Some of those are the future level work which you want to kind of get into that. And really not have fixed aggregates. Some of these are very technical renditions of how some of these underlying HANA views get created. But the idea is to really have a flexible and a very agile system which will allow the board to begin from a top level PNL and do any dimensional questioning, and the board kind of should not run on the PowerPoint but on the system. That's the kind of journey which we are kind of wanting to get into. We did a kind of a design thinking to kind of craft boardroom of the future kind of an app, and really the challenge was corporate finance is no longer from a reporting kind of a function, but how does corporate finance transform itself to actually be the quality advisory to its internal customers, which is services, marketing, or any of these teams out there. So how do they get enough data so that they can advise, really act as a consultant on the business imperatives over there. So 3.5-day DT workshop done. A lot of ideas have come up. I think we now need to take those steps forward and really continue this transformation journey out there. I would really urge you to kind of say, while the technology support is there, it's very important to do design thinking, because for us that has really worked well. Really not coming up with, oh, these are the system constructs, what do you want to do? Really flip the question as to what is it that the CFO wants. And I think Mr. Nagpal gave very practical instances, and each of that if you take and drill down, I'm sure that will open up humongous possibilities for each one of us. Finally, very quickly, something for our factories. So while all this customer journey, finance is there in the front end, the idea was to get into something for our factories, leverage IoT and see how we can experiment with the technology. This is more like a POC. Rohtak plant, which is in North India, is the world's largest paint plant, producing 400 million liters per annum. Most sophisticated plant, fully automated, very high speed packing machines which pack around 90 to 100 containers per minute. So how do you really analyze that packing line to really do two things? One is ensure that statutory compliance, avoid underfilling, because anything which is underfilled will be a violation of the law. And if you don't fill 998 milliliters in a 1 liter can, because if we add those 2 ml in the dealer shop. So if more white goes and you overfill, then it will be a lighter shade, which leads to a whole lot of customer complaints, right? So you need to pack exactly 990 ml. Now statistically the process would keep varying based on how the packing line is, nozzle, stickiness, the paint will dry, all of that would lead to the tolerance of that process being out of whack, right? So how do you analyze that big data kind of a thing? So did a co-innovation over there, again did a mini DT over there, and earlier there used to be running this whole thing on Excel. So you look at the weight per liter of the paint, the weight of the container, and then kind of say, okay, the setting of the machine is to drop this much ml. And really it was a very tedious exercise. Somebody would take a sampling and then they would kind of assume that now we are within the range or outside the range, and now at the end of the process you would realize that 100 containers got overfilled or 50 containers got overfilled, take them out, empty all of that, repack that, really a messy process. And we are packing 100 containers per second, is like a huge productivity loss. So the new system really put in sensors on the filler machine, integrated with each nozzle. And I think this is a normal project which most control system vendors would do for you, right? Data acquisition from the shop floor is done by, all the a petrochemical plant would read all those tags. But I think where the difference started coming is the second thing over here, where we started building real-time statistical correlation, right? So there's a real-time view of each and every container getting packed, and those are the tolerance bands. And it kind of starts predicting that, oh, if I'm going to run a Royale white line in this mixer, in this packing line, then nozzle number 6 is going to misbehave. So that level of correlation is what now I can do real time, and that kind of helps us to do predictive maintenance. So some of this is like very early POC, but hopefully, and some of these are real time graphs from the Fiori custom app which we have built, which sits on top of the HANA engine there. So rule-based alerts, a control center cockpit, some of this is a work in progress for most of our factories there. So now, what are the benefits? Handling around 54,000 data points per line per hour. Event data streaming of 900 events per minute. So if you're packing 100 containers, each container has around 9 data points. The nozzle, the diameter, I mean, I'm really expert in that, but 9 data points are to be tracked, and then you analyze that. I mentioned about the correlation of nozzle performance with the, the choking of that filling machine. And it really triggers advanced predictive maintenance out there and really shifts the way you run the factory very differently. Few other scenarios, energy management, predictive maintenance, some of that are kind of already work in progress. So this kind of, gives a very fast rundown on different areas where we are leveraging digital, elements of digital to kind of, help the organization go on the journey. And really it was a pleasure sharing this journey with all of you. And this is really a on-ground practical experience. Yeah, the end really looks very fulfilling, but I must assure you that, the journey is not easy, right? It requires a lot of support from business, requires a lot of support from top management to kind of, make this and pull this off. Thanks a lot for being a wonderful audience.